How long has it been since the actual band Santana came out here?
In 73.
Is that right? No, I guess a lot of the older fans are getting sort of a treat these days because we got you coming out here. The Allman Brothers came out. Crosby, Stills, and Nash were just here. So people from the 60s and 70s are kind of being treated to a royal display of the Hall of Famers these days.
I'm very grateful, for Mr. Udo bringing us back. Every time I come to Japan, I'm a better person when I go home.
In what way?
People are very sensitive here, very receptive. If you notice, most ignorant Americans, they stick out. They're very loud and very ignorant. But when I come here, I learn about subtlety and being receptive. And there's a different standard. I mean, if you look at the Guitar Player magazine in America and this guitar over here, just the way it feels, the way it looks, everything, it has more. It's the Japanese way. It's a different standard. They say.
So you go back to America and then become like ignorant and loud again?
No, because I've never been like that. See, it's not my. Even though I live in America, I never identify with imperialist, pompous rock. I'm a musician. I'm not a rock star, so I don't have to create attention for myself. I'm not good at selling myself. To me, the sound is my tool, not the image or acting loud, and it's not my way.
You may not actually be part of the movement per se, but it seems like a lot of the bands from the 60s and 70s are kind of getting back together again. What do you think accounts for that now? Why do you have people going back to their original formats?
The young people today are bored with today's music. It's like something that loses its flavor. People are going back to Led Zeppelin, Bob Marley, Jimi Hendrix, Santana, Grateful Dead, because there's more substance. Today everything is really fast, but it's not like we're making love. It's just like screwing. And in the 60s there was more of a principle to it. The music of Jimi Hendrix is still very alive today, where a lot of bands today is all technique and very little insight. I like John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Michael Stern, Eric Johnson can play fast. But as Wayne Shorter says, you must think faster to play slower.
He was mentioning that it's not only the younger fans, but maybe also the older fans have trouble accepting the newer stuff, getting into it.
I like Living Colour a lot because he plays fast, but it's still, when he plays, he hits my navel, the umbilical cord, where certain things that Yngwie Malmsteen I like, certain things I don't, certain things that Steve Vai plays, I like his imagination, but tone, I don't like their tone, because their tone is like it's like a cereal, Saturday morning cereal for kids that is like synthetic sweet instead of like real honey. So kids today want the real honey. It's the only way. Not all of them. I mean, they all have. What's the guy? Joe Satriani. They all have something. We all have something to contribute. But most of their compositions are not as good as Led Zeppelin or Jimi Hendrix or Jeff Beck. Their compositions are more. The only way I can think of it is like Hollywood. In Hollywood, you go and you see a beautiful building, but you open the door and there's nothing there behind it. Where in Jimi Hendrix, you open the door and it's like huge. And this is why a lot of people today young and old, are looking back to the 60s and the 70s for more substance, especially like Bob Marley's music. Bob Marley's music is very, very big in America. And all the American Indians, Cherokee, Cheyenne, Apache, Comanche, they don't listen to Ingrid Malmsteen or, they listen to Jimi Hendrix and Bob Marley. Not because it's old, but because it's newer than today. Today's new music is old. Before it comes out, it sounds old already.
Who was the first? You said somebody hit you right in the navel. Who was trying to sum up the answer.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's.
It wasn't Jimi Hendrix. It was somebody else.
Bob Marley, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, right. No, come on. The older catalog is being reissued in Japan, like on CD. Not only your stuff, but the other artists we've been talking about. I guess the same is true in America. So younger people have access to the older catalog on CDs now. You think they're listening to that?
Yeah.
Where's the radio?
The radio gives music a bad name in America because radio is kind of like a mafia control thing. And I was telling the other gentleman, in America it's very dangerous because radio only plays Vanilla Ice or Madonna or MC Hammer. So it's take your pick, vanilla or chocolate. That's it. Where in the 60s it was all the flavors of the rainbow. So young people today are looking back to the old catalogs to get their training together because today is flat. It's not as exciting. They don't have the intensity, even though they're faster. It doesn't leave a longer lasting impression. Musicians from the 60s used to change people's lives. They still change people's lives. Today's music is kind of like that, where in the old days it's like, and then you want to eat it some more. So today's music is the only way that I can say this. Today's music is a little bit more superficial. Not all of it. There's a lot of important bands like Living Colour, Eric Johnson, Stevie Ray Vaughan, but it's because they understand the blues. If Eric Johnson, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Vernon Reid did not play the blues, their music would be just as superficial as a lot of musicians who they just play really fast, but it's like talking and saying nothing. Where Jimi Hendrix was speaking for generations, like Bob Dylan. When they speak and when they play, everybody listens. So I can see why the young people today, they're looking for something that they're not getting. It's not that we are trying to bring a skeleton from the closet and make it revive again. Music doesn't lie, and the young people today are very hungry for something that has more inside impact than just mental metal. Heavy. The first people who played heavy metal, I think, was the Led Zeppelin. And so to me, the most important bands still are Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin. And then it gradually starts getting more generic and synthetic.
Well, I think it's a matter of like the older artists we've been talking about having done a purer form of music.
Right. This young guitar, it doesn't matter from A to Z whether it's Scorpion or Richie Blackmore or everybody. What separates an artist, Michael Schenker's music, Richie Blackmore's music, is their music is going to last longer if they listen to the blues. Lonnie Johnson, T-Bone Walker, the first father, before Jimi Hendrix played with his teeth or between his legs, on his back. T-Bone Walker did it already. Ignorant Americans, they stick out. They're very loud and very ignorant, you know. But when I come here, I learn about subtlety and being receptive, you know. And there's a different standard. I mean, if you look at the guitar player, Mr. Udo bringing us back. Every time I come to Japan, I'm a better person when I go home, you know.
In what way?
People are very sensitive here, very receptive, you know. If you notice, most...
You coming out here, the Allman Brothers came out. Probably still in Nashville just here. So people from the 60s and 70s are kind of being treated to a royal display of the Hall of Famers these days.
I'm very grateful, you know.
How long has it been since the actual band Santana came out here?
In 73.
Is that right? No, I guess a lot of the older fans are getting sort of a treat these days because we got you coming.
A magazine in America, and this guitar over here, just the way it feels, the way it looks, everything, you know, it has more... It's the Japanese way. It's a different standard. What do you say?
So you